Good morning. Welcome to Simply Remarkable. Happy 4th of July. Now, are you ready to learn how to change the world by changing your mindset? Let's go. I'm ready. Greetings to our live audience joining us today on this holiday from LinkedIn, X, YouTube, Facebook, and hopefully Instagram. Now, we look forward to this weekly conversation so that you can get to meet and know personally our featured speaker just like we do. We want you to join in the conversation because we're all about engaging our audiences. We'd love to hear what your questions or comments are. Just join us in the chat line. Now, our featured speaker today is the global award-winning keynote speaker and author, executive coach, corporate trainer, leadership thought leader, and he's listed in the top 200 global biggest voices in leadership, Stephen Howard. Now, he turns good leaders into great leaders. He is an award-winning author of 22 leadership and professional development books, including his latest, Humony Mindset. Change the world by changing your mindset. Welcome, Stephen. We're so glad to have you on this National USA holiday, the 4th of July. And I know you travel a lot, so where are you coming to us from today?
Well, I'm in Phoenix, Arizona today, Sue, and it's good to see you again. Happy 4th.
Woo, that's great. So is our broadcast director. So y'all had to get up early. Thank you for doing that. We appreciate that on this holiday morning. Now, Stephen, this time goes by so fast. So let's just get started, okay?
Let's do it.
Now, Stephen, as the author of 22 books, I can't believe that, 22 books. And after writing extensively on leadership, your latest book talks about mindsets. Now, what led you to coin the term Humony Mindset, and how do you define a mindset?
Wow. Okay. A mindset is our perspective, how we see the world, how we engage with the world, how we engage with other people. And that's why two people can see the same event or hear the same conversation and walk away with two different conclusions because they approach it and analyze it with different mindsets. So it's how we view people. I can talk later about how to change your mindset or give you an example of that. The word humany I created combining humanity, and harmony, and I did it probably with my favorite creative technique, Sue. I was sitting on my balcony in Mexico City with a bottle of red wine, watching the sun go down and thinking about how peaceful the world was and how peaceful my neighborhood was, and thinking how leadership needed to change coming out of the COVID and how our interactions with each other needed to change and needed to become more peaceful. And I wrote down the word harmony, and then I wrote down the word human, and then I wrote down the word humanity. And then I started combining those, and I came up with humany. So that's how the word got created.
That's wonderful. And I've learned how to pronounce it, even with my accent. I've worked on that. Humany. All right, we can just say it, and everybody needs to know it because it is such a powerful, powerful concept. Thanks for sharing that concept over a bottle of red wine. Okay, I think we can probably all relate. That's in doing that. Now, what are the foundational elements of a humany mindset?
Humany mindset means we're going to approach life, approach all of our interactions with each other from a place of four things: compassion, kindness, peace, and respect. And to understand that each of us has an agency to create a better world for our children and grandchildren to inherit. And so this is the best expression of that. Now, I'm not talking about none of us are going to solve the Middle East peace crisis, where none of us are going to solve world hunger. but we can all make our communities, our neighborhoods, our families, our workplaces more harmonious, more peaceful, calm, and certainly more respectful. And that's what the Humany Mindset is. You approach your interactions with those four elements of compassion, kindness, peace, and respect.
Wow, I've got that. Okay, with those four elements. And you're right. We need to do that in our lives. Those are healthy for us as well. Doctors will love you.
Because we do. And what I find interesting having moved back to the United States, Sue, is the number of people I see, whether it's in shopping malls or on streets, whether everyone has their head down, not almost everyone. And they don't want to make eye contact. When I go for a morning walk, even the people walking, 60, 70% of them have their head down. They don't want to make eye contact. And I like to look at people and say good morning to them. And sometimes I shock them when I do that. And it's just that we live in such a divisive world today, such a divisive society, that we're afraid to interact with one another. And so we avoid contact, and it's a shame. And we don't need to do that. We could have much richer lives if we wouldn't do that.
Because you never know who you might run into and how you can help them, make their day. Because
exactly,
we want to make somebody's day, no matter what it is, whether it's the smallest thing. A smile will work, but you're right. They have to look up to us, right? So
yeah.
that's key. That's key. All right. Now, you say we can change the world by changing our mindset. Now, that's a very big, bold claim. But you having lived and worked in many places around the world, can you walk us through how that is really possible?
Yes, it starts, Sue, with kind of stepping back, being mindful of your environment, being mindful of your thoughts. So here, maybe this is a good example. I relish peace and quiet. And therefore, when I'm in an airport or a restaurant, I don't like noisy children. I don't like kids running around. But in different cultures, that's totally acceptable. The parents will let the kids run around or throw balls even in the airport. They'll be tossing balls around. Or even here in the United States, I see, I'll be in Target and I'll see people, families allowing their children to, toss a football in the aisles. And I'm going like, this is nuts. But that's my mindset. Their mindset is, hey, they're having fun. They're not doing any harm. They're not doing any damage. They're enjoying it. And maybe parents are less stressed because their children are happy and playful and they don't have to monitor them. So that's two different mindsets. We're both observing the same thing, but it's how we look at it. And so understanding that, I can change my mindset and say, they're not bothering me. If I really focus, if I can focus on something else, I won't get upset that these kids are running around the airport or, playing ball or whatever it is. So I change my mindset. And now I'm more peaceful and I don't have a negative interaction with them. I don't make a comment like, can't you keep your children under control? Which automatically is going to start a negative interaction with those parents. So that's how you change your mindset.
And it's one little thing at a time, isn't it?
Little things.
Yeah. You don't have to tackle the whole thing at one time. It's a gradual thing, and doing it over and over again, it becomes that. And I can understand that. And I think a lot of people say our older people are just grouchy. As you age, you can't handle, things going around you and you want everything, like you want it. And I said, I'm not. I don't want to be that kind, in my older age. I don't want to be the gripey neighbor or, this kind of thing. I want to understand people. So I think that's the first key we're talking about. So if someone is listening here today or viewing this today, and they decide, okay, maybe he's got something there. Maybe this mindset thing is really, really key, and they want to start shifting their mindset on this July 4th weekend. What's the first step you'd recommend to them?
Oh, thanks. And that first step is actually quite easy. And the best two words I think written in history appear above the temple of Apollo in Greece. And it basically said, know thyself. And so, like I said, know yourself and know what I want and how I'm interpreting things. You start with there and say, okay, is that going to work? Is that working? Is that peaceful? Is that compassionate? Is that kind? Am I showing respect? And then when you say to yourself, no, if I speak negatively to those parents in the airport, that's not showing them respect in public. If I chastise them, it's not showing compassion. It's not being kind, and it's certainly not going to add any more peacefulness to the situation. The best way to add peacefulness to that situation is to change my mindset. And I can walk away. I can find a seat somewhere else. So I can just walk a little bit and get away from the noisy kids, or I can stick my head into a book and try and focus on it. That's changing my mindset. So it's understanding our thoughts, understanding how our thoughts drive our behavior, and then changing our behavior by changing our thoughts.
Sometimes that's not easy, is it?
No, it's not.
We have to work at it, don't we?
No, and I tell you, it's not easy. And here's, maybe this will spark a thought in your audience, is that most of us look at the homeless when we see homeless people, and we think it's their fault, that they're lazy, that they're dirty, they're slovenly, it's their fault. And when they're begging for money at a traffic intersection in some parts of the country, we call them left lane losers because they're in the left lane where you're turning. But stop and think. What if I've stopped and thought, if that happened to me, if I was penniless, if I got thrown out in the streets with no family support, I don't think I could go on. I think I'd take the easy way out with a bottle of sleeping pills, quite frankly. So by looking at these people and thinking, wow, how resilient, how internally strong are they to day by day struggle to continue for another day, when I like I said, take the shortcut. Now, if I look at them as strong and resilient, I'm not blaming them. I'm seeing the fortitude in them as human beings, what it takes to struggle day by day in very unfortunate circumstances. So I don't see them as lazy. I don't see them as druggies. I don't see them as drunkards. I see them as human beings. You do that, you're going to change your perspective when you look at anybody else, because that's about the lowest level of humanity we can look at right now. You change your mindset about that, you're going to change your mindset about everyone else that you interact with.
And true. I love that example, because our homeless is a problem. We know it is. Yeah. And we've seen so many success stories lately of people saying, I was homeless, but I met someone that just shared a little bit with me and made me want to change. And that's all a lot of it takes. There's many that have come and now are successful coming out of those circumstances. And I look back at my life, hey, I probably, coming from circumstances I did, I mean, I probably could have ended up like that, but I'm glad that I chose an education. I had mentors that were willing to work with me, and so that I didn't get into that. So I think that's key here, that we've got to kind of look at it in a different perspective and see what we can do.
Yeah. And even if we can't, even if we don't have money in our pocket, or we don't want to donate, it's like, at least if you look at them, acknowledge them, just nod your head, smile. That's just like that. We all want to be recognized. We don't want to go through life being overlooked. And so If we just recognize them as another human being walking this planet, sharing the human journey of life, it's all it takes. Now, if you've got an extra, I keep a couple extra dollars in my car, and, I'll donate, a couple dollars here and there. But you don't have to do that. You just have to recognize them. That's all it takes.
Because money's not the answer for their change. It isn't. But again, you have to be led to know what maybe is, something you can do, whether it involves money or not. Yeah. And we have a great place here in our city that we work with and we donate to, that is the hands and the feet that we can't be, that goes out to reach them and provides them shelter and provides them opportunities. But not every city has that. So, sometimes you have to create something. It could be that would be something that people could really do. So thanks for sharing that, because like I said, there's many people out there that need just a smile or just something else. And you'll never imagine how this could, change our lives.
Yeah, and it could be the cashier at your grocery store who's having a bad day. It could be, letting the person who cuts you off in traffic. Who knows what's going in their life? Maybe they're late. Maybe they got a job interview. Or maybe they're just an idiot. Doesn't matter. Let them go. Why get yourself upset? Let them go. Tap your brakes if you have to. Don't get upset. Don't yell at them. Just be peaceful. Be calm. You're not going to see them again, typically. But
and they can't hear you anyway.
Yeah. All you're doing is
change a thing.
All you're doing is raising your own blood pressure. So that's not going to be healthy.
Exactly.
It's not just the homeless. It's the cashier. Like I typically, all my life, if I'm in a supermarket and I've got my weekly grocery purchases and somebody's got this 2 or 3 items behind me, I always let them go. Yeah, come on, please. Or, even if it's 4 or 5 items, just, why should they wait for me to check out? I've got 30, 40 items in my basket and, they've got 2 or 3, let them go. Maybe somebody will do something nice to me down the road, but it doesn't matter. You're doing something kind for another human being, and that makes us feel good.
Sometimes it's just opening a door or helping them in somewhere, or all like this. That's key. And that sounds simple, but it's key because it changes you and it changes them. And that's the key. I thank you for bringing this up, because there's so many instances we face every day.
Yeah.
That
and
we
it
can make a
cascades
difference in people's lives, and we don't even take advantage of it. So thank you for sharing that, because that's going to really how we can change the world.
That's how you change.
One person at a time, and one person choosing to have the right Humony mindset. Thank you for sharing that. Now, you brought up this, but tell me a little bit more, because this has been a big push lately, because I see it a lot. Mindfulness is a topic that everybody really, is getting into, but also kindness and gratitude. Now, you've shared a little bit about the kindness that's part of the pillars of of a Humany mindset. But what really part does kindness and gratitude play in having a Humany mindset?
Oh, they're critical. I mean, kindness is one of what I call the 4 pillars of it. And I say that the foundation of it is accepting people for who they are. And then gratitude, just being grateful for what you have, grateful for your ability to have a positive impact on another person, because it's going to cascade. And like you said, if you open the door for somebody, if you're nice to the clerk at the grocery store, you see somebody struggle, you have an umbrella and it's raining, you help somebody across the street in the rain, share your umbrella. All these acts of kindness and compassion are self-gratitude, because you're in a position to help somebody and that feels good. And you're thankful for that opportunity to help another human being or to help other human beings on a daily basis.
And that's like putting others ahead of yourself.
Yeah. It goes from the mindset. The current mindset for most people is, what's in it for me? If I do this, people would say, well, if I do this, am I going to get good luck down the road? I'm doing it because it's good for me. Somewhere I might, that karma goes around, what goes around, the world spins around, whatever. But it's actually changing that mindset to, what is the emotional wake I create in my interaction? Now, we're going to create an emotional wake. The emotional wake is how the person feels after an introduction. Every time I talk with you, Sue, my emotional wake is, I'm happy. You're a lovely, lively person. You're always smiling. I love interacting with you, because I walk away going, wow, that was fun. That was nice. It kind of puts a smile on my face. Other people,
mutual. It's mutual.
Thank you. But with other people, we call them Debbie Downers. We walk away, oh God, what a waste of time that was. Why did I spend my time with that person? So that's the emotional wake. If we can create positive emotional wakes in the other person, then they walk away from any interaction, whether it's nonverbal interaction, just smiling at them, holding the door open for them, to doing something, helping somebody put their groceries in the car because they're struggling, they're holding a child or something. All of these intentional acts of kindness and compassion are showing respect to that other person, respecting them as a human being. You don't have to respect them for what they are, what they do, or you don't have to accept their lifestyle necessarily if it conflicts with your views, but you respect them as a human being. Therefore, you can be grateful at the end of the day that you have impacted a few people positively and created a positive emotional wake for them and a positive emotional wake for yourself.
And that brings us to my next point. You have in your books, and you bring this to your audiences, and I love it. What's the power of 5?
Thank you, Sue, because this is so critical, so important. The power of 5 is how this cascades. So the power of 5 is if I go out and intentionally have a positive interaction with 5 people every day, again, smiling at them when I'm having my morning walk, allowing them to go first in the grocery store, letting them cut me off in traffic, whatever it is, 5. And each of those 5 people replicates that for whatever reason, something sparks them. They're in a better mood, and they have 5 acts of kindness, compassion, peacefulness with 5 other people. That's 25 plus your 5 makes 30. And if those 30 people each do it to 5 people over the course of the next 24 hours, that's going to bring the total up to 125. Do it another time, those 125 people times 5 brings it to 625. And here's the power. If that 4th level also does it 5 times each, they've impacted 3,125 people. So your 5 acts of compassion, respect, kindness, at the end of the day, could impact 3,905 people. And that's just me. Now, imagine 10 people doing that. Now we're at 39,000. If 100 people do that, we're at 390,000. So if this thing just cascades so well that we could be in the tens of thousands just from your audience right here. If each of them would start tomorrow or today, it's early enough in the day, to go out and intentionally have 5 positive interactions in the hopes. Now, even if everyone doesn't do it 5 times, say some people do it 4 times, some people do it 3 times, it doesn't matter. The math still works. You still end up impacting well over 1,000 people each and every day, 7,000 people a week that you indirectly impact through your 5 intentional acts of kindness, compassion, peacefulness, and respect. That's the power of 5.
And that's how we can change the world.
That's how we change the world. We change our communities. If you did that in your community, boom.
Well, the challenge from Remarkable Speakers Bureau and from Simply Remarkable live show today is, are you willing to take that challenge? Are you
5.
willing to do 5 times today? And you don't have to keep track. It becomes natural then if you realize it's not about you. It's about those other thousands that you could impact by your 5 today. I mean, when I read that, I'm like, I'm not a math major, and that could really blow your mind, but I realize it's true. And this leads us into something we have special that Stephen has created for us here today on this holiday weekend. We have a special surprise that Stephen has said he is going to give away 3 copies of his best-selling Humony Mindset, Change the World by Changing Your Mindset. Want to change the world? You can. And all you have to do to enter our drawing is to give us a comment here, give us a comment on our rebroadcast, give us a comment on our podcast, which comes out next week. And we're on all channels for you: LinkedIn, X, YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. So you've got lots of opportunity to do this. And then we're going to have a special announcement of who wins these 3 special books. We've got it coming up for you, Stephen. It's going to be a real treat for them. So
I hope so.
we love to see your comments, everyone, because it's going to matter today. Your comments are going to matter. And tell everybody else to watch, and they can comment too. So share it. That's the thing, where we can impact the world with it. And I can't wait to award this to 3 awesome winners and to announce those winners. So thank you, Stephen. That was such a generous offer, and we thank you for that.
My pleasure, Sue.
You're welcome. You're welcome. We just appreciate you so much. Now, we're almost ready to close. This time just goes by so fast. I mean, we could just be here forever. That's why we keep having him back, okay? Because everybody wants to know more, all right? Or you can certainly have him at your events. But what question do you wish hosts like me would ask you that we never do? Is there something we missed? Is there something you'd like to share now that we missed?
I would. If you could hold the book up the camera again, I'd like to explain the cover because it's such a unique cover. So for those who can see it, in the brain there is what's called the sundog. I just lost my train of thought there. The sundog, rainbow sundog. And this comes from the Navajo and Hopi tribes in North America, who, when they see a rainbow around the sun during an eclipse, they believe that each color of the rainbow represents the different people in the world. And when that rainbow shows, it's a sign that the world, humanity, is starting to come together. In the arms in that picture, which look like muscles, that's actually the DNA double helix, because as human beings, we are genetically 99.9% similar to everyone else on the world. And some geneticists believe that everybody on Earth is the 50th cousin to everybody else. So everyone on Earth, whether it's the other side of the world, is our 50th cousin. They believe that's how connected we are in humanity. And then, of course, in the brain, inside that sundog rainbow is the tree of life. And that is the archetype for many religions that shows that it represents harmony and balance, kind of a rebirth and connection of the earth and the spiritual. So that's the concept behind that image, which is created by a friend of mine in Mexico City, wonderful graphic artist. And he took my thinking and created that great illustration for the book. So I'm glad to thank you for the opportunity to share that.
How awesome. We would have never known that. I mean, I was just looking at it and say, okay, it's interesting.
It's interesting.
It's interesting. I believe in that DNA thing, because if everybody would get their DNA done, they'd be surprised. They'd be surprised who they're connected with, because we're not all pure one thing. We're all connected. And I love that. I love that. So thanks for sharing that. Now, in closing, Stephen, what are you going to do today on this 4th of July? You're in Phoenix, Arizona. What are you going to do today to be remarkable?
I'm going to go out and have 5 great interactions today. I'm going to have at least 5. And you know what? It may not all be face-to-face. I mean, just sending an email to somebody, tell them how much you appreciated they did something or whatever. That could be, it doesn't have to be necessarily face-to-face, or, I won't have any other broadcast today, but I will intentionally try to positively impact 5 other people and walk away with 5 wonderful emotional wakes throughout the day.
And I took that challenge too. I mean, I've taken it a long time ago, and it works. It'll change your life. It'll change your life. And to our audience, on this 4th of July, 2025, what are you going to do today to be remarkable? Maybe you heard something here that you said, wow. We'd certainly love to hear your comments, because you never know, you might win that book. And just leave us a comment about something that you're going to do today remarkable. And maybe you got something here. That's what we want. We want to impact people. We want to give you the opportunity to get impacted like we do from all the speakers and everybody that we get to meet. Now, thanks so much, Stephen, for joining us today. I'm wishing you a remarkable rest of 2025 and much success in helping people, organizations, leaders, and teams develop a Humony Mindset. Now, event planners, whether your event is small or large, it doesn't matter. Stephen brings high energy, new insights, as you can just hear. Oh, wow. And high engagement for your audiences. It's time to book Stephen Howard for your event today. Contact us today. I will be in the office till firework time tonight. Or we're at our website, our current website. You can reach us there. Remember, we have a new website coming soon that's going to be great. And also remember, Stephen books quickly. So make sure you get in on having him come and share how changing the world, you can change the world by changing your mindset. Now, plan on joining us back here next Friday, which is July 11th, as our featured speaker will be Tracy Brown. Now, if you have some of these problems, fraud losses, or they're adding up, or your team, they could be selling better, and your meetings are boring, this is the conversation you want to make sure that you join us next week, because Tracy is one of the top body language experts in the world, and she focuses on how to spot lies hidden in plain sight that are costing big losses of time, money, and energy. Now, she's a high energy and engaging keynote speaker, a sales intelligence trainer, and you have seen her all over media recently because she's always called to analyze the latest events going on in our world. So you won't want to miss this conversation. And again, thanks for joining us today on this holiday. We hope that we started your holiday off on the right foot. And I love what I get to do every day. And as we say it, remarkable. Let's be remarkable together and create an event of a lifetime, because we want people to know that there's always something they can do to improve and be better for this world. Also, remember to continue to pray and support those who are still recovering from the devastating effects of Hurricane Helene, Milton, and the California fires, especially here in Western North Carolina. It will be a long-term recovery for these people, and it impacted so many. We can't forget them, even though the world may have and the press may have, but they still have the need. So we just want to assure you that we're going to continue, and we want and urge you to. Now, we want to give a special holiday shout out today to our remarkable staff. Lisa, who is here, our broadcast director, working on the holiday, and also Jonna and Valerie are working on things for us, and to our special IT company, Trinity Solutions, who keeps us running with all this technical equipment going on and things that keep changing everything, but we got it connected. I couldn't do what I do without any of these people. It's not about me, because I can assure you they have the skills that I need to keep Remarkable Speakers Bureau operating and being able to serve our audiences worldwide. Now, we wish you a happy and safe 4th of July weekend. Stay cool, because it's going to be hot, especially in Phoenix, right, y'all?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I see it got to over 100 yesterday. All right. We haven't matched that in North Carolina yet, but we're getting there. And we will see everyone next week. Thanks, Stephen. We appreciate you so much.
Thank you, Sue. It's been a great conversation.
It was awesome. You are remarkable.
Thank you.